Good morning and welcome. So take a moment to just settle into your seat. If you like, you can pull back on your buttocks and upper thighs with your hands to get that forward tilt to happen. So you can roll slightly onto the front of your sitting bones and have your lower back arched a little bit. And then with an awareness of the quality of settling onto your seat, you also lift up. There's always these pairs of opposites in yoga. And one of the most basic ones is down with gravity and up to defy gravity. And we do that all day long, just standing and walking around. But in yoga, we enhance that a little more. And another set of opposites that I talk about a lot is condensing in, pulling in a protective way, in a stabilizing way, very consciously, very specifically, and then expanding out so that we don't get completely contorted and inward. We have the opposite direction of flow of energy outward. And that, I think, relates to this time that we're in with COVID, because we're still doing the precautions we need to do, and yet we're starting to be out in the world a little more freely, especially now that the weather is so nice and we want to be outside. And I'm thinking about that for myself right now, because I'm about to take my first plane trip in all these years to go teach up in Rochester, which I'm very excited about. But I'm taking the precautions, doing all the things, and then just expanding out into the experience. So I'm sure you can relate to that in your own life. The sense of protectiveness and, pulling in, stabilizing yourself in that way, and also not preventing yourself from getting the experiences we have when we branch out a little bit or a lot. Okay, so with that in mind, feel your spine, particularly today. Of course, the support of the spine does come from the pelvis, so you can tone your pelvic floor, lift up through your spine, picturing that the spine extends up through the crown of your head, even though technically it doesn't. But the energy of the subtle body certainly does. And then we'll chant the invocation. Again, we're doing Om Vakratunda, honoring Ganesh, who protects us, taking away obstacles. So we'll do one single Om and then the invocation 3 times, and then one more Om. Take a breath in. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Suryasamapprabha Nirvinyan Kurume Deva Sarva Karyeshu Sarvada Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Suryasamapprabha Nirvinyam Kurume Deva Sarva Karyeshu Sarvada Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Suryasamapprabha Nirvinyam Kurume Deva Sarva Karyeshu Sarvada Okay, circle your shoulders. And then sitting very tall, shoulders very broad. Look to the left and then to the right, going to the end range of the motion without forcing, but just going all the way as far as you can. So one of the things we do in the yoga practice is we have simple movements that we can take to the full range. And then, of course, when we start combining them and getting more complex, we need to be careful and take care. So I like to do all these simple things in the beginning. Okay, and then come back to center, look up. Notice the stretch of the front of your throat, but also down into your chest. And then tip your head down, bringing your chin to your chest, but still lifting the chest. So the stretch is focused in the back of your neck. And then up and down a few times more at a good pace for you. And then to the side. So take your right hand to the side, touch the mat, maybe walk your hand back a little bit, stretch your head to the side towards your left shoulder, but not bending your whole spine in that direction, just your neck. And then look down. And look up. And slowly go from down to up with the other hand coming in to massage. Just use your whole hand and gently pull the skin from the back to the front. Okay, release and just pause for a moment to feel the result. And then take your head to your right shoulder, reach the left arm out to the side as you touch the mat, maybe a little bit behind. Feel that stretch that is in the neck, but also down through the shoulder, maybe into your upper arm. All the connective tissue is continuous from your ear down to your fingertips. And then look down. And look up. And go from down to up. Slowly bringing your other hand in to massage. And then release. Feel both shoulders now as you sit tall. Okay, and then full curve and arch. Inhaling, lift your chest, lean back a little bit. Lengthen the front of your spine. Really get your awareness deep inside. The spine is way underneath all the abdominal organs. And then come forward. This one's maybe easier to feel because the muscles of the back are right there near the surface. And then back and forth a few more times. Okay, and now readjust your seat however you'd like. I'm going to change the crossing of my legs and just sit a little further back on my blanket. Inhale, lift, and exhale, pulling your thighs into the hip socket to stabilize the pelvis, twist to the right. Your head stays over your pelvic floor, so your spine is vertical. You're not curving in any way. And back to center. Visualize each little part of the spine turning in relation to the vertebrae next to it. Inhale and exhale, turn the other way. Pelvis is stable, so you're twisting from the waist up. And the most twist happens at the very top of your neck. Okay, back to each side again a few more times. Okay, and back to center. So let's do the ball work. Now we're going to do the trapezius first. And then I think we'll go down in between the shoulder blades with those small balls. And then we will use the larger balls on the rest of the spine. But those of you who would prefer to go all the way down with the smaller ones, you can certainly do that. All right. So let's use the block under your hips for this top trapezius spot. So you can lie down and put the block under your hips first. And that changes the angle of your ribs, enabling the ball to go right to the top of the trapezius. So then we put the balls in there. And let your arms release to the sides with the elbows bent. Take a moment to settle. And then move your chest side to side very slowly. So the ball is rolling across that little area. It's only a few inches on each side, where the upper trapezius is located, and also another muscle that restricts our shoulders very commonly, and that's levator scapula. You can tell by the name that its job is to lift your shoulder blades up towards your ears. And you probably know from your own experience that that gets tiring and causes headaches and is an expression of stress, basically. So if we can catch ourselves when that happens, we can do ourselves a big favor to release that upper trapezius and levator scapula. And especially for yoga, releasing this part of the shoulders lets us do the poses where the arms go overhead much more easily. And you can bring your arms up in the air, slowly bring your bent elbows up to touch each other, and then go back out again like you're opening and closing a book, and feel how that changes what's happening with the balls. All right, let's move the balls down a few inches so that they're in between the top part of the shoulder blades. You can leave the block in or take it out. So at this point, I usually start with my elbows pointing up, because at this place, your shoulder blades are broad and there's not a lot of room there between them for the balls. So when you bring your arms up in front of you, it moves the shoulder blades apart. And then you can do any of the same movements again. And then use your hands to push the balls down another inch or two. So we're just going very slowly down between the shoulder blades, and this will be the third out of 4 spots. So you're not all the way at the bottom yet. If you have tie spots here, you might be able to feel how they connect up into the neck or out into the arms. So it's a clue if you have issues in either your neck or your arms. This would be a place to work on a regular basis. Okay, now go down a little more. So you're at the bottom edge of your shoulder blades now. And you can choose to keep your arms up in the air or put them down on the floor, or even cross them over your chest. Okay, so now we're going to go down the rest of the spine, and you're going to choose. Do you want to keep going with these balls, one on each side? That's more, a massage for your muscles, or do you want to go onto the larger balls, which helps your spine get comfortable in a backbending position? So I'm going to do the second one. I'm going to do the larger balls, but you can stay with these if you want. So I'm putting 2 balls on my spine vertically, in line with each other, in line with the spine, and not too close together, because they restrict each other if they're too close together. And then I'm just moving very slowly side to side. And then you can just, at your own pace, determine when to move to a new spot. You're moving very slowly, though. Really give each spot that concentrated attention, even for just a few minutes. Slow movement, really paying attention to what are the sensations that the balls are giving you. And just progress down. We'll do just another minute or two. For me, I'm down on my sacrum with the larger ball, and the upper ball is on a tight place in my spine, which is around the diaphragm area. And then before we stop this, just pause to feel your breath. See if working on this part of your body with the balls helped to free up your breath at all. Maybe your inhalation has a little more natural expansion without effort. Okay, take out the balls now and just lie flat. Preparing for our warm-up. Bring your knees into your chest, rock a little side to side. And of course, feel how the back is massaged on the mat when you do this. And then raise your legs up in the air, give a shake. Circle your feet. Circle the other way. And bend and stretch your legs. And bring the block in between your legs. Arms out to the side. Move side to side with your legs while keeping your shoulders steady on the floor. Okay, then bring the block out from between your legs. Place your feet on the edges of the mat Getting ready for windshield wiper, widen your feet apart on the mat. Stretch your arms up next to your head. Remembering that we did the ball work up there in that little area of the shoulder. Hopefully that's not too, tight right now. And then take the right knee across to the left foot, reaching through the whole right side. Back up, second side. So you get to feel the connectedness of the inner fabric of the body, the connective tissue, also known as fascia, really getting very highlighted here. Okay, back to center, right knee comes across to the left foot. Put the heel on top of the other knee, the left heel on the right knee, and hold your right wrist with your left hand if you want. And both of those pulls at each end will create more stretch. And then second side. And back to center. So I think before we do the leg stretches, we'll just practice in both the arms and the legs that condensing and expanding energy. So for now, just put your legs in any relaxed position. Take your arms out to the sides so the fingers are pointing out to each side, just in line with your shoulders. And then put energy into your arms in such a way that the muscles are pulling into the bones. So it's a tightening, it's definitely contraction. And then pull your arms into the shoulder sockets just a little bit, not so that your shoulders get all squished up, but just so that you feel some action in the shoulder joint and in the shoulder blades, the muscles around the shoulder blades. And then keeping some of that, like 60, 70% of that, stretch out so that your fingertips get, longer, your arms get longer, and yet you still have the stability of the first action that we did. So this is that combination of condensing, stabilizing with expanding. Okay, let's now do our leg stretches with the belt, in which we do the same thing. Okay, so take the right leg up, put the belt around your foot, hold the belt with your arms outstretched, and then decide whether you're able to straighten the left leg or not. It depends how successful you are at getting the leg straight up in the air. If that's difficult and your leg, in order to get straight, your leg has to be quite a bit out in front of you, then you can leave the other knee bent. So that's a progressive thing that you just evaluate for yourself. Let's say you have the left leg straight. I'm sure many of you can do that. Condense the muscles around the bones. That means you hug the bones, you contract the muscles. There's real tension, a real activity going. It's not just an image. It's a strong action. And feel the connection of the leg bones into the hip sockets, like you're pulling them deeper in. But then expand back out. So you push energy out through the long bones of the legs, out through into the feet and all the toes. And you can also widen your two hips. That's part of the expansion. And then make sure you're still breathing. And pull on the belt to whatever degree feels good to you. Lift the left leg off the floor. Put it down and hold the belt in your right hand. Take it out. Take the right leg out to the side. Keep the pelvis still flat to the floor so the left hip doesn't lift up. Do the condensing energy in both legs and then the expanding energy. All the while, your neck and shoulders are passive and your breath is smooth. Lift the left leg up off the floor and put it down. Come back across the midline such that you're stretching the outer edge of the thigh and maybe into the lower leg. And do the same, condensing and expanding energies. I like to think that my breath fuels those two flows of energy. And you can even say on the inhalation, you do the contracting one. And on the exhalation, you do the expanding one. That's one way to practice it. And then lift your left leg up. And put it down. Take off the belt. Move your hips to the right. And then cross over with your right knee. So you can maintain support of that right leg as it comes across. You don't just flop it down, but you're still energizing it even though it's bent, and lifting that right hip up away from the left hip as you move into the twist. Also, check your axis of the twist so that you have a long and strong line from your feet, from your left foot up to your head. And then if you want, you can put your left hand under the right knee and straighten that knee out a few times, pointing it directly to the side. All right, back to center. And just feel for a moment now the energetic quality of the right side of your body. It's alive. Okay, left side, take the leg up. Hold the belt in such a way that your arms are straight, shoulders on the floor, and then do the condensing and expanding energy. First condensing, the arms and the legs pull into the socket, but then they also reach out away from the socket, all the way through the endpoints. Pull on the belt as you feel ready to intensify the hamstring stretch. But you're always pushing against that pull with your thigh. And then lift the right leg up. Put the right leg down and bring the left leg out to the left, keeping your right hip on the floor, keeping the condensing and expanding energy. Lift the right leg up a little bit or a lot. And put it down and come across the midline, broadening through the pelvis. Condense and expand. Lift the right leg up. Roll your head side to side to make sure your neck is not contracting unnecessarily. And then put the right leg down, bring the belt up. Move your hips to the left and come into the twist, bending your left knee across, but you're not flopping the leg. You're actually supporting the leg with its own power. Do that condensing energy. Even though the knee is bent, we can still do it. Check your axis from the foot up to the right hip to the your top of your head. Reach through the left hand, and then bring your right hand under the knee and bend, straighten it a few times out to the side, bending and straightening, and back to center. And pause just to feel that amplification of energy, prana, in your body. So it reminds me of if you were to start a little fire. Let's say you go camping and you want to start a fire. You have to put the branches in close to each other and then light it with a match. So our conscious energy is that match, but we've got the body parts connected. And then you blow some air into the fire and it starts to expand. Similar. Okay, let's come over face down on the mat. Let's do a forearm plank. Clasp your hands, elbows under the shoulders, tuck your toes under. And first, just elongate the front of your body from your head down to the ankles. So really feel that whole length. Pull your chest forward and your legs back. And then with your toes tucked under, ready to support you, lift your hips up. Check as best you can that your ribs are not too high or too low, that they're just at the same level as your shoulders. You're stretching your legs back so your pelvis doesn't sag down.
And breathe as you feel that this one is more about the condensing energy, especially in your shoulders. I'm sure you can feel it.
All right. Now let's come into the cobra position. Bring your elbows still under your shoulders, but your hands now face straight ahead. Separate your feet just a few inches, tone your buttocks, and then inhaling, lift up into cobra with your arms straightening, but your shoulders staying away from your ears. So there's so many places to be aware of. Your fingers pressing down, your elbows straight, your shoulders broad, your chest moving forward, your pelvis pressing down, and your legs extending. And then come down. Move your hands back a little bit and wider. How far back is up to you. I like to put my hands next to my head. So if I look to the side, I'm just looking at my fingertips. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Inhaling, rise up to the next cobra. You probably will not straighten your arms this time. So be careful that you're not propping yourself on your arms and sinking with your spine. The spine rises up with its own strength. And then come back. And one more time, up into cobra. Inhale, rise up. And then let's come right up into all fours now for a couple of cat-cow movements. So just free form, move your spine however you want. You can do little circles. You can side bend. You can curve the spine. And then let's go into down dog. So separate your hands shoulder width, turn the fingers out just slightly, and balance the weight on the four corners of the hands. So in this case, actually, there's more than four corners because we have these long fingers. So you can think of, the five fingertips, the five roots of each finger, and then the two sides of the wrist. So that's actually 12 points. Okay, tuck your toes under. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, pull back and up with your hips. Move your pelvis side to side just a little bit, stretching the side of the body again. And then coming back to center, raise your sitting bones up and stretch one heel down at a time. And both legs straight, sitting bones up, neck relaxed. And come forward into full arm plank. And back to down dog. And full arm plank. And back to down dog. And then bring your knees down and bring the blocks in if you're going to use them for lunge. If you're not going to use them, you can just keep your hands on the floor and everybody step your right foot forward. Adjust your back knee a little bit wider on the mat. Tuck your back toes under, extend your spine forward, and lift up with the back leg straightening. So now let's do the condensing and expanding energy again. So you've got one leg bent, one leg straight, but in both cases, you're drawing energy up from the feet into the pelvis, and then pushing back out in the opposite direction, pelvis all the way out to the feet. In the spine, you're giving support to each part of the spine, and that's why the blocks are helpful, because when you're bending over really far to get your hands onto the floor, it's really hard to engage the spine muscles. So I really like using the blocks, even though I have very long arms. But people with shorter arms, it's really a good idea to use the blocks and then emphasize how much muscle strength you can put into your spine. And then expand from the pelvis out to the top of the head. And then bring the blocks to the inside of your foot. The right leg is straight now. You come up onto the heel of the right leg. And using the support of the blocks, you can move them wherever you want to be able to turn your pelvis. Spin on the heel to really feel the depth of the hip muscles in the back of the leg. Okay, and then come back. And let's do that much on the other side. So switch legs, left leg in front, right leg in back.
bend the left knee enough to be over the ankle, pointing toward the toes. Back leg is straight, and check that your pelvis is in line with the front of the mat. And then engage the energy, condensing in the legs first, so from the feet up to the pelvis, strong, pulling in, and then expanding out. So you don't let go of the pulling in when you expand out, and that's the key, because we want to expand, but we don't want to do it kind of randomly. Okay, and then bring the blocks on the inside of the foot. Pull back with your hips towards the back foot. Come up on the heel, and then spin your pelvis to find those different connections of the whole back leg, which is the hamstring muscles. And then you're getting to the adductors and the side ones as well. Okay, then come back with your right leg forward, hands on the blocks. Come up on the onto the front knee with your arms. Pause there. And then you can choose to twist with your hand, left hand down on the block, or your left arm coming across the knee. Twist to the right. And then bring the back knee down, and let's turn this into Twisted Sister. So again, you're going to be twisting to the right, left hand on the block or the floor. Reach back with your right hand and catch the left foot. Twist to the right and adjust your left hand so that you don't compress your shoulder. You can move it a little to the side. All right, let's do that on the other side. Bring the left leg forward, right leg back. Bring your forearms up on top of the front thigh. Pause there. And then twist either with your hand, right hand on the mat or the block, or you can cross the elbow over the knee and twist to the left. You can raise your arm up or keep it on your hip. Okay, and then come down with the back knee. Right hand stays on the block or on the mat. Reach around with your left hand to catch the right foot. Pull the foot in towards your buttock and gently move your hips forward. So you feel the stretch across the front of your thigh. Expand your chest from the pelvis out through the top of your head, twisting and possibly leaning a little bit over to the right. Okay, let's do a down dog now. In between. And once again, knees down on the mat. And you can add a blanket for this next one if you want to pad your knees. We're going to step the right foot forward and bring the blocks in alongside your, maybe near your hip level, so that you can put them in their tallest setting and be able to reach them with your hands. So you can get lower to the floor by moving the back knee back a little bit. Try to have the back knee at least somewhat behind your hip instead of right under your hip. This pose is called Asana. Very important in this kind of pose to pull your thighs into the hip socket for that condensing energy. Lift up through your spine, tailbone going down, abdomen lifting up, and then press down into the blocks and lift your chest. And then look forward for a moment. Now raise your left arm up, and once again, look up into an arch position. So now with the arm up, you're stretching more that continuous line of fascia. Okay, let's do that on the other side, Asana. Pause for a minute in between, breathing. And then step your left foot forward. Check that you have some width between the two legs. In other words, don't have the right knee right behind the left foot. Give yourself maybe 4 inches or even 6 inches in between. Come up right now and see if you want to move the back knee back just a little bit so that it's behind the pelvis, it's not under the pelvis. Now, condensing energy, pulling the legs, the muscles into the bones of the legs and also pulling the legs into the hip sockets. And then expand as you start to move the hips forward a bit and expand up through your spine. So you're doing a back bend, both hands are supported on the blocks. And then look up, move your pelvis back just a little bit for a rest in between. And then once again, move your hips forward slightly. Keep your left hand on the block, raise your right arm up and reach into a back bend. Very good. Okay. Let's come into one more down dog. And then walk towards your hands, bringing your feet wide on the mat. Bend your knees, rest your elbows on your thighs, extend your spine, and inhale, come up. So let's do Gomukhasana arms. So you can use a belt or not. Bring the belt over your right shoulder if you're using it. Bring your right arm up, turning the arm so the biceps faces back. And see how close you can bring it to your head. And then bend your elbow, hold the belt, bring the other arm out to the side, palm facing back. And now let's do a little condensing and expanding here, because this pose often it's intense enough you forget to do the stabilizing energy because the position is just so distracting. So still do that condensing energy and then bring your arm in. See how high you can go onto the belt with your hand, your right hand, left hand, or hook your fingers. And then I know you probably can't see yourself, but you want to have the upper arm, the right arm, going as much as possible straight up, and the lower arm going as much as possible straight down. And then if you like using the wall, turn around. Lean your top elbow on the wall and lean back a little bit with your hips. Okay, let's do the other side. Pause just to feel. Of course, that pose works on both arms in 2 different ways. So now you bring your left arm up, turn it using the other hand to help so that your biceps faces back behind you, triceps face forward. Bring your hand down and either just rest it there or hold the belt. And then bring your right arm out to the side and do the condensing energy to protect the arm as you bring it in. And then it comes up to either hook your fingers or hold the belt. Again, ideally, your left elbow is pointing straight up, your right elbow is pointing down. And then bring your elbow on the wall. The point of the wall is to help you get the top arm a little further back. So your whole body is in a position that puts pressure on the elbow to move it back. Okay, and then release. Put the belt to the side and let's do inversion of your choice. So that could be handstand or forearm balance or headstand. And it could be kicking up or walking up. So as you prepare, remember that the position of the shoulders and the strength of the whole upper body is key, really important because that's your foundation. And it needs both the condensing and the expanding energy. Because condensing keeps the joints aligned well and strong
for the weight bearing. But then we can get kind of crushed into the pose if we don't also expand. So you're going to be expanding up through the spine and all the way up through the legs because they're pointing up. Okay, here we go. Observe your breath. It's going to speed up a little bit, but just keep it as smooth as you can. Always, if you feel your breath speeding up more than you'd like, what you can do is extend the exhalation, because that will slow your breath down and you'll end up taking a deeper inhalation. All right, come on down and rest your head in some variation of child's pose, whatever works for you. And then come on up again. And we're doing warrior 2 and side angle pose. So if you like to use a block for side angle pose, you can place it one on each end of the mat. Take a wide stance with your feet. Turn the right foot out, spreading your toes, and lift your arms up, condensing and expanding energy in all parts, the arms, the legs, the spine. Inhale, exhaling, bend your right knee, and then your spine and pelvis and the whole torso is directly over your pelvic floor. You're not tilting your pelvis and upper body over towards the bent leg. That's kind of a tricky thing to feel in yourself. Spread your toes, spread your fingers, and let energy expand out from the pelvis and the spine through the legs and the arms. Okay, and then bring your forearm to your right thigh, leaning to the side. Press into the back foot. Roll your left shoulder back. And then bring your right hand down, either onto your ankle or the floor or a block. Bring your left arm up. And bring it over your ear, continuing the long diagonal created by the back leg. Again, condense the energy into the pelvis and spine as part of your center, and then expand out again with enthusiasm. All right, give a little pulse to come up. Turn both feet parallel and just rest for a moment in this position, wide legs, parallel feet. Feel the pulsation of energy in your body. And then turn out the left leg. So the foot and the knee both face over to the side, which requires your pelvis to turn a little bit. Do not try to keep your pelvis parallel to the side of the mat. From the waist up, you're parallel. Bring your arms to the sides, palms facing down, and create that condensing energy, which has a feeling of brightness, doesn't it? And then expanding, and then the brightness shines out. Inhale. Exhale, bend the left knee until it's right over the ankle, pointing toward the toes. Check that you're not leaning over that leg yet. You will be in a minute. And look to the left. Okay, and then forearm to thigh. Again, check the position of your knee, so important in this pose. Don't let it turn in. The kneecap points toward the middle toes. Roll your right shoulder back and really press into the back foot, completely amplifying the power of that back leg. And then you can bring your hand down onto the block or the floor or your ankle. Roll the right shoulder back again. Take the arm up and over the ear. And again, condense the energy and expand it. Breathe. Feel the flow of your breath
If it begins to be choppy or excessively speeded up, just exhale longer. Not in order to relax, you can't relax in this pose, but in order to just be more even-minded, because your breath can really have that effect. And then inhale, come up. Stay with your feet wide apart, parallel for a moment, just breathing and feeling your body, the energy that you've amplified. And then step your feet together. Okay, now warrior 1 and 3, and I'm going to demonstrate with the chair, but you can do it freestanding if you want. So if you're using a chair, the back of the chair is facing towards you, the seat is facing out to the end of the mat. Step your right foot forward, left foot back. You can have your hands on your hips or on the chair back. Really turn your pelvis to face the end of the mat. And check that your back foot is only slightly turned out to the side. It's really not good to turn it all the way out to the side, which is an instinct we all have because it gives us more stability. But we take the risk, turn the foot almost all the way forward. The reason for that is then your pelvis can be squared to the front of the mat. Condense the energy and then lift. Exhaling, bend the front knee. Take a little back bend using the support of the chair. Just so you can feel the stretch across the front of the hip and also the lift of your spine. And then come back, look straight ahead, raise your arms up, either out to the side or all the way up. And again, create a back bend. Stable on your feet, stable through the pelvis because you're condensing the energy into the pelvis and then expanding it out. Okay, then look forward with your hands on the chair back. Step the right foot back if you're using a chair. Come onto the front leg, reaching your back leg up and out. Your hands are on the seat of the chair, or if you're not using a chair, they're on your hips. And then those with the chair, stretch your right arm forward. So you're on one leg and one hand. Expand from the center. All right, and then step that foot back down. Let's do a small forward bend now. Those of you with the chair, see if you can round over the back of the chair for just a little back relief here. Your feet are about, 18 inches apart, parallel. All right, let's come up and do the left side. Left leg forward, right leg back, turn down slightly. Face your pelvis straight ahead. Inhale, lift your spine. Feel where each foot is. Each foot is doing its thing. The left foot and a knee are parallel to the side of the mat, facing straight ahead. The right foot is very slightly turned out. Inhale. Exhaling, bend the left knee. Pause. Create that solid strength in your pelvis, and then lift your chest. Looking up. Come back, look straight ahead, bring your arms to the sides. And again, look up, raise your arms if you wish. Creating very carefully, very slowly, this really good celebratory back bend. Reach through your arms and down into your legs. And then look straight ahead. Step back with the left foot. Those of you with the chair, come onto your left foot. Raise the right leg up. Your hands, if you're not using a chair, your hands could be on blocks. That would be good. And then lift the left arm out in front of you. So you on one hand and one leg. And once again, bring both legs down. The back leg comes down and your feet are a little wider apart, like maybe 10, 18 inches. Bend forward over the back of the chair if it allows you to do that. Forearms to the chair seat. All right, bend your knees and inhale, come up. Now let's do the tree pose. And we're going to make it into a slight back bend to whatever degree you can do that. So I like to be near the wall. You can do it freestanding, you can do it with a chair, you can do it with the wall. Pause just to feel the sole of your foot, especially now your left foot that you're going to stand on. And then raise up your right leg, put the foot on the inside of the thigh. Straighten up, lengthening through the top of your head. Feel that center of condensation in your pelvis. So you're pulling energetically into the pelvis and then expanding out. Bring your arms out to the side. And then you can choose to go up higher with your arms if you wish. I'm going to go up just a little higher and then arch my back looking up. If you're near the wall, of course, you could put your head on the wall. Feel that energetic lift of your chest, expanding away from your pelvis. And then come down. Other side. Standing now on your right leg, lift the left foot up. Put it on the inner thigh. Press the foot and the thigh against each other. Lift your spine. So here the condensation goes into the pelvis. You're squeezing into the center line and into the pelvis, and then expanding down into the standing leg, the roots of the tree, up through the branches. Raise your arms up. Your choice about where you end up with your arms. They can be out to the side or higher. And then see if you can make a back bend. And then come down. Okay, let's do Prasarita Padottanasana for our last standing pose. Widen your legs and just go back and forth from one leg to the other a couple of times. Bending your knees out over the toes. And you can have blocks ready to put your hands on if you like to do that. Touch the front of your hip joints, right at the crease where it's going to fold. Lift up out of that area with the whole upper body, and then bend forward and come with your hands onto the blocks or onto the floor. Extend your spine forward, sitting bones back and apart, and then curve down to whatever degree you feel comfortable doing. Your head can come all the way down. But for those with osteoporosis, you can keep a little more tone in your spine and only curve a small amount. So now the expanding energy in a pose like this is not only the length of the body, as we've done so often already today, like down through the length of the legs and up through the spine in a linear fashion, but also there's the widening of your pelvis that's so wonderful in this pose. So really push your upper thighs apart from each other, away from the midline, and then wag the pelvis to each side a little bit so you can feel perhaps there's a difference in, how much you can go to one side and the other side. And that has to do with the tightness in your adductor muscles. All right, and then elongate your spine if you haven't already. Walk your legs in a little bit, heel toe, bending your knees, rest your forearms on your thighs, and inhale, come up. All right. Now we're gonna do Ustrasana. So you can put a blanket down to pad your knees. And for props, you could have only your feet to reach for, which is the full pose. You could have a bolster over your ankles, which I'll show. Or you could have a chair behind you and touch the chair. So we're gonna do it twice. I'm gonna show it once with the bolster and once with just going to my feet. So your knees are hip width apart, your toes are pointing backwards, and you look back to see if your toes and feet are in line with the knees, as opposed to being further in towards each other. Condense the energy in your legs, pulling up into the pelvis. Condense the energy in your spine, and then lift your spine up and out of the pelvis as you also press down into your knees into the floor. And look straight ahead at first. We'll do the neck once we get there. Bring your hands either to your feet or to the bolster. Lift your front chest, squeezing the shoulder blades together, and then carefully arch your head back. Without dropping it, you're doing it with control. Feel your breath and slow it down if it has speeded up a lot. And then come up. And now for the second one, I'm going to go down to reach for my heels. And I'm going to instruct you to lift one arm up straight toward the ceiling while you're in the pose, and then the other arm. That's optional. If you'd rather just keep your hands on your feet, that's fine. So you can have your toes tucked under or flat. Condense the energy, especially into the pelvis, using your thighs very strongly. And then expand the energy down into the blanket from your pelvis, up through your whole torso. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Look straight ahead at first until you have your hands down on your feet or the bolster if you're doing that version. And then lift your chest, lift your heart even more as you carefully arch your head back. See if you can talk. Make sure you can breathe, of course. And then lift your right arm up, stretching it back next to your head as far as you can. And then return and do the same with your left arm. One arm at a time. And then come back up. Okay, now let's do twisted child's pose. So you come onto all fours. You've got the padding of the blanket under your knees. Walk your left hand forward. Twist so that your right arm goes off to the side behind the left arm. And you're using the floor to help you twist. So you can use both arms, pushing down into the floor. Roll your left shoulder back. Keep your weight steady on your legs. Other side. Right hand goes forward a little bit, left arm threads behind it. Left side of your head goes on the floor, and you use both arms to help you intensify the twist. The straight arm pushing down and the other arm, the bent arm, pulling back. All right, now we're going to do the bow pose, Dhanurasana. So you can use either a folded blanket or a bolster underneath the front of your pelvis. I'm going to do it with a bolster. I made a blanket into a small bolster. Put the front of my pelvis on there and then have a block for my head. So when I say the front of the pelvis, probably you want it more towards your waistline, a little bit less than towards your pubic bone. The blanket is hopefully going to help you reach back and catch your feet. So I recommend putting your head on the block and then reaching for each foot with your hands. You can hold your ankle or the front toe part of your foot. Once you've got both hands holding, then push back into your hands to lift your knees off the floor, look straight ahead, and rock a little bit forward and back, pushing strongly with your legs back. And then you can rock a little side to side. Again, come back to center, push up as high as you can. And release. Now we'll do a child's pose with more props. And then a relaxation. Well, this is relaxation as well. So make the blocks a straight line along your mat. So they're end to end. The blanket can be flattened out to pad your knees. And then you can take some amount of prop to put behind your knee joint. And I'm going to show it with a towel. I've got a bath towel here. So I take my knees wide apart. Oh, and then the bolster goes on top of the blocks. The knees go wide apart, toes are pointed. And then you put some kind of padding, whatever you have, a towel or a blanket or another sticky mat, behind the fold of your knees. And then pull the bolster right in close to you with your hands reaching under it to touch the blocks, and rest your upper body on the bolster. If you want, you can raise a block that's more towards the end of the bolster to a higher setting so that you have more support for your head. Now really breathe into your back body. Let the breath slow down. Longer exhalation, deeper inhalation. And then turn your head to the other side if you can do that, if your neck feels okay doing that. Now let's slowly come up, and I'll describe the relaxation pose that I recommend for today, but of course you can do whatever you want for this last pose, any variation of Shavasana that you want. What I'm going to do is have one blanket that is a long bolster shape. So I take it, I open it up to be this shape, which is rectangular, and then I make it into a longer line, and that's going to be supporting my spine. So I put that at the upper end of my mat where my upper body's going to be. And then I bring another blanket and I roll it to go under my knees. And then I'm going to put the bolster over my thighs. So I have the bolster right next to me and put it on my thighs. I get my sitting bones really grounded. And I'm not sitting on the blanket that's the long bolster. I'm sitting at the end of it. And then I roll back onto it, lying down. and adjust the bolster to come up to the very top of my thighs. And then hopefully that's comfortable. You can rest your arms to the sides, roll your head side to side to check your neck is comfortable. And if you want more support under your neck, you can reach under the blanket behind your neck and make a little fold there so that your neck has a little more bulky blanket under it. Feels really good. And then allow your breath to become slower and longer. You can adjust your legs, rolling them in and out. Make sure your shoulders are releasing. And let's do a few humming breaths, which helps to elongate the exhalation. And one more time. And settle into a complete release. Feel the subtleness of your breath. How the breath tapers off at the very end of the exhalation. And there might be a slight pause there before you take the next inhale. And that's that moment of stillness that's so precious.
Feel your body. Take a few deeper breaths. Just savoring that quietness inside as you slowly begin to gather energy to get up. Bend your knees and roll to one side, supporting your head with your arm, bending your knees. And come all the way up to sitting. When we balance as skillfully as we can between the condensing energy and the expanding energy, we have the power in the body and the mind to do whatever we need to do. To me, it's incredibly supportive, and I'm sure it is for you too. So the yoga practice has so many facets to it, the philosophical aspects of it, the biological aspects of it. But to me, this condensing and expanding energy spreads out into all the aspects of who we are. Because we need to find our center in order to expand out into the activities that we do. So with gratitude, let's chant one Om. Take a breath in. Om. Thank you. Namaste.